Yes, fine. Thank you. Yep, good morning, guys. I am Dilip, so I will be the person who will be training you on data analytics using Python. So, in this session, I will give an intro on Pandas. So, most probably, Pandas is a package or framework that is developed in Python for doing analytics, data analytic or data analysis. So, I will show you how to do that, and I will give you a small intro on how this Pandas helps us in doing that type of analytics. And I will discuss few examples right now. I will not tell you what is analytics, all those stuff, because we already know what kind of stuff is carried by analytics and analysis. So I will show you simple examples by looking into the pandas and how a pandas can hold our data, and how easily we can find the analytics within our by making use of these pandas. So as a topic, I will be covering pandas intro. We will talk about a little bit about pandas and the installation of pandas. Most probably, you must be knowing that if you have a good experience on normal Python, we will be making use of easy or pip download managers of Python in order to install the Python packages. So we will be using that. So I will not discuss much on that. And the data structures of pandas and what are the data types that we mostly use in pandas while we are doing data analytics or data analysis, and a few examples of creating data frames. So with that we will end the session. So pandas, so as I said earlier, pandas is an open source library which is used for data analysis, and it is mainly highly performable data where we can manipulate our data easily. So we do have so many functions within the Python pandas itself, so that we don't need to write our code for doing any kind of data analysis. We simply can make use of pandas in order to do that. So we do have other packages, but when compared to pandas, pandas gives us a good performance. So most probably this pandas is developed by making use of a numpy package, so which is a mathematical package used for machine learning, all those stuff. So by making use of that package, they developed the pandas, so we can easily find out how this pandas can give a high performance, so when you compare to other kinds of stuff. Fine. So I will give you a little bit intro on what is this data analysis part and all those stuff. But once we are done with this pandas, understanding pandas and how these pandas will work, because we are going to learn this pandas package for doing data analysis part. And so most probably when you're going for the data analysis part or data analytics part, we will be making use of 5 different tasks. That is nothing but grabbing the data and transforming the data. And if you are doing some machine learning kind of stuff, then we will be making use of preparing the data. That is nothing but we will remove all the unwanted stuff and we will make ready our data for creating some machine learning models. So if you don't have any idea on machine learning, we will leave it apart. But most probably, simple example, if you want to understand analytics means, we need to find out the insights from our data. Insights in the sense the number counts. I think that you just want to find out how many members are visiting your website every day. So you may be having some highly traffic website, so we just want to increase your capacity, your hardware, or your issues, so you need to satisfy our customers. For doing that, to know what is the tick that is coming to your website. So that can be done by grabbing the data from your website. That may be a link clicks or IPs visited from different countries, that kind of data, and the time at which time your traffic is more, and how you can address that traffic in order to make your site what I can say easy for all the people who are visiting your site. So we can do that by doing a simple analysis by calculating number of persons visiting every day, and finding out at what time your sites or your servers are being fully traffic. So at that time you can think that okay, this is a time where people are visiting mostly, then you can increase your capacity at the back end. So in order to give your services to all the people. So in order to take that type of decisions, we have to know the insights of our data, insights of our product. So in order to do that, we need to go for data analytics part or data analysis part. So when we grab the data from our servers or some our databases, so we will be having so much of unwanted stuff. So first of all, we have to make sure what kind of data we have to get, and the next thing is we need to place it at a particular place. And next thing is a prepare part in the sense we need to prepare it for doing analytics. So what kind of data it is, so it is a JSON data or XML data or HTML data or XML data, that may be anything. And you have to make sure that what are the fields that you have to choose in order to find the insights from your data may be containing so much of unwanted stuff. So you may be just want to find out the counts from the data whatever you got. And the next thing is manipulating. So manipulating part, just removing the noise and the unwanted stuff. And the third part is analyze, the final part. So once you are done with all the three steps of uploading, preparing, manipulating, and the fourth part will be the analyze part. So model is the part where we are going to make use that when we are making use of a machine learning part. But right now we just go for analysis. We just want to analyze our data. So we can do as it as a final part. So this entire stuff, so whatever we have learned till now or whatever we came to know, like loading, preparing, manipulating, and analyzing part. So this four different kinds of stuffs can be carried out in single package called Pandas. So that is the reason why people are making use of Python Pandas for doing for data analysis or data analytics. So as I said earlier, this Pandas is because of these positives of having a Pandas, the cons, whatever Pandas framework is having. This Pandas is widely used in most of the commercial places like finance. You can go and work out on the finance data, and you can go with some economics data, statistics. You can find out the statistics from the data, whatever you are getting, and you can easily find out the analytics part. So all the statistics analytics can be look similar, but they are different. All these different kinds of stuffs can be carried out in Python, and that is done by making use of the framework called Pandas. So here are the few features of Pandas, why people are really going for Pandas and you making use of this particular package for doing data analytics or data analysis. The first thing, Pandas is fast and efficient when we go for where we had the indexing or custom indexing part. So when we look at other data framing, like when we go with the normal Python code, we need to do all these with our own hands. We need to program it with ourselves according to the whatever problem we are facing. But when we go to Pandas, Pandas is really high. We can simply load the data and we can customize the indexing part. I will let you know how this indexing will work. And the next thing is there are so many tools in order to load our data to in-memory objects. So like as I said earlier, we may be working with different kinds of data like HTML, XML, JSON, so structured and unstructured data. And there are easy methods, there are easy tools already built in Pandas itself to load that data into our in-memory. So when we load our data into in-memory, we can do our analysis fastly So that is why the pandas became or gives us high performance while doing analytics. And we can do data analysis part easily and integrating of missing data. So you may find like so the simple example for missing data is something like so think that you may be having a kind of restaurant at a particular place, and you just want to expand your chain from this place to another place. You just want to open a new restaurant in a new place, but you don't know in which place you have to open that, and what are the how people think or misuse that. So for that, what we will do is simply we will send our feedback forms to all our customers. So at the time, few people may like of keeping a new restaurant in a new place, and few people may don't show any type of interest on feeding or filling up that feedback form. So think that you have sent 100 forms and you got only 10 forms back with fully filled. So other 90 forms will be the missing data, right? So the, few people may be filling up some fields and they will be leaving out some other fields, and the data whatever you got back, think that 50 all you got all of your 100 forms back, and now you just want to find out so whether people are really liking your restaurant to build or shift to any other new place or not. So when you open it and see 10 people are giving you the correct response, another 90 are not giving you a clear picture. So there is some missing data. They did not fill up their forms correctly, but they have filled up some information. So we need to grab that information. If that is okay for us, we will make use of that. Otherwise, based on that 10 informations, whatever we got 10 forms. So for example, I'm saying 10 forms, but in the real world scenario, we will be increasing the count for doing or for filling up that missing data based on the forms whatever we got, the fully filled forms. And we will be making use of a location analysis or location. We will simply go for the location field if the people are really we got those fields those feedback forms from a particular location, and we got some missing fields. So we simply take the fully filled form, the location part, and we will fill up to the other locations. And I promise this works for few scenarios. Maybe this may not be the complete solution for all the scenarios of starting a new restaurant in a new place. But in order to fill up that kind of missing data, we need to have some reference, or we need to have some data which is fully filled in order to fill up that missing data. So if you are not having that much also, we need to go for the new method. And we can do this kind of part very easily by making use of Pandas framework. And the next thing is reshaping and pivoting of data sets. So we can easily reshape and pivot our data sets once we dump or once we loaded our data into Pandas. So we don't need to take most of the burden. And there is a chance of label slicing. So if you had any idea on Python, we just make use of slicing part, right? So we just make use of slicing part, right? The same thing can be applied here to index to sixth index, giving the start function and step function, step numbers. We will be giving out our label slicing. That is nothing but we will label our indices, and we will make use of those labels. Like I think that you just label 1 to 10 numbers as a so the first with the capital letters, or with the letters from starting from A to ending from F or H. So you can make use of those labels for slicing part, and you can make use of, as usual, you can make use of indexing part for, and in order to divide your large data sets into smaller chunks, you can make use of this slicing and indexing part in our analysis. And this can be carried out only by making use of pandas. So you can carry out this indexing part, but when it comes to label based slicing, that can be carried out only in pandas. And the next thing is, we can easily delete that data structure with nothing but the columns which are inserted in our data. If you want to delete the columns, we can easily do that by, or if you want to insert a new column, and we can use easily do that in Pandas without any difficulty. So we will be learning all this stuff while we are doing our data analytics part. So as a first part of our training session, we will start understanding what is Pandas, and we will see few methods how they can help us in data analytics part or data analysis part. And finally, we will go with a few scenarios. We will load up some kind of real world data, and we will find some real insights, some data analytics part, analysis part from that data whatever we loaded into Pandas. Uh, and the next feature is group by function. So when we are doing a kind of analytics, we need to know all these functionalities. We need to know what is group by, what is indexing, what is slicing, and this can be known when you know a little bit of programming language and database idea. So you need to have a little bit of idea on a database, how a database works, and how a programming works. So how to write a program in order to fetch the data and do some changes that in that particular data whatever you are fetching. And the final part, the final feature that we can talk is high performance. I said this point earlier also. So when you are merging and joining means that is a costly operation when we talk around this our CPU performance. So merging out 1 GB of data, joining about 1 GB of data is something a time-taking process, and it takes some time. But we can do that within less time by making use of Pandas, because they have written the backend code in such a way. So the data, whatever we do load that in our in-memory, and the functions, whatever you carry, or the operations or actions, whatever you done in your in-memory will be faster. The Pandas will do every action in memory only. Why Pandas is giving us a high performance. And that is a little bit about Pandas and its features. And if you want to install Pandas, that you can, as I said earlier, you can make use of the download managers of Python like pip or easy. Here I am just making use of pip, and the command will be like this. So if you are on an Ubuntu mission, so we will be having two versions of Pythons in that. So if you want to install Python 2 version Pandas, then we will give the command something like pip install Pandas. Here you can see which downloads you the package of Python 2 version supported Pandas. But if you want to go for 3, then you need to change the download manager something like pip 3. But when you are on Windows, don't worry, we can download the updated version like 3.5 and updated version of Pandas. And if you want to import Pandas, and you can do that simply by importing it like a import command, import keyword and Pandas. I'm just renaming it as PD. So this is how we import the installed package of Pandas. So give me a minute, I will show you how it starts and how to import our Pandas framework. Just starting my VM. So meanwhile, if you're having any doubts on data analytics or data analysis part or Python, so you can ask me. Yep, it's loading. Please wait a second. Yep. Okay. So this is an Ubuntu VM. I hope you wanna have an idea on this. So if you don't have, just if you're experienced with just Windows, then don't worry. This is just like a CMD command prompt of Windows. So the same thing we will have as a terminal on Ubuntu. So here, if you want to jump into, or if you want to jump into Python for version 2, then we will give something like Python command. So it will take you to version 2.7. But when it comes to Python 3, then you need to give some command like something like Python 3. Then it will take you to the Python 3.5 version. Now, in order to download your, sorry. Okay. So, fine. It's fine. Okay. So if you just want to download your Python Pandas framework, then we will be making use of Python pip, which is a download manager. So if you want to download the Python version 3, then I will give something like pip3 and install Pandas. So I already had Pandas, so I'm not going to install that once again. So simply I will go to Python 3 command prompt, and I will import Pandas. So if you are not having Pandas on your system, then you will get a error saying that the module is not found. There is no module called Pandas. So right now I did not got any error because I already installed Pandas. So this is how we will start our data analysis part by importing Pandas. So I'm just importing Pandas as PD. And as I said earlier, in Pandas, we do have 3 types of data structures. So mostly when you are loading your data, we will be load our data into any of these 3 types of data structure. So that is nothing but a series, data frame, and the panel. And as I said earlier, there's 3 data frames or data objects or data structures of pandas are developed by making use of NumPy arrays, by making use of another package called NumPy. So they are fast. Series is just a one-dimensional array. So if you do have an IO on a database, so a series is nothing but a particular column in a table. So a single column in a table can be represented or can be called as series in pandas. So a series may be a string value, integer value, floating value, or that can be anything. So it can hold any kind of values in it. And for creating series, we will be making use of a pd.series. So once we imported pandas data frame or object, then we can make use of this method in order to do that. And the next thing is a data frame. Data frame is a two-dimensional data structure. It is just an example. It is just similar to a table in a data frame. So sorry, in a database. So when you see a table will have index numbers, column names, and rows. In the same way, a data frame also will have some index numbers, some column names, and some rows in it. So just it is similar as a table in a database. And this can be, we can create this data frame by making use of list, dictionary, series, and NumPy and the array object. So we will see how to create all these data frames by making use of those different objects of Python. But for now, please do remember a series is an one-dimensional data structure which will hold a just like a column, a list object. It can store any kind of data. So the additional part, the difference between the series and the list is in series we do have the index numbers and it is in a column-based way. But when it comes to list is just a sequence-based. And a data frame is a two-dimensional data structure where we will have everything like column names and the rows, the values where we store in the rows, and that can be carried, that can be fetched by making use of column names. And additional with this, we do have some index numbers, just like the tables in databases. And the third thing is the panel. This is mostly we don't work out with this panel, but sometimes we go for this panel data structure. So that is nothing but it is a 3D container where you can store three kinds of accesses. That is nothing but the items, then nothing but the number of rows you are, the values whatever you are having in your data. You just simply load into a panel and it shows you the data. We call that as items when you load into the panel. And the major and minor axis, those three axes are nothing but one major will talk about the rows that the particular object had. So if you just inserted 3 rows objects or 3 rows data into your panel object, so the first major axis will contain the number of those rows, saying that okay, there are 3 rows in this particular panel. So the major axis will deal with that number. And when it comes to minor, we call that as axis 2, and it depends, it controls, or it will have the information of columns of the panel whatever we are having. So simply we can create this panel by sending out ND arrays, dictionaries, and data frames. So this is a 3D dimensional data structure in pandas. So in order to start this pandas data framework, we need to know the simple basics of Python programming. So hope we know that. And the next thing is NumPy, a little bit of NumPy, but I will not talk much about NumPy in these sessions. The next part is pandas, where we go for data analytics and data analysis. We will see that. And a little bit of matplotlib, where we can represent our data in the form of some visualization stuff in 2D graphs and 2D pictures. We can show our analysis part, and we can make use of matplotlib library for that. So once it is done, we will go for doing a real world scenario, one like loading a real world data and doing some data analytics part from. So that is nothing but preparing our data and removing some unwanted stuff and knowing the areas what we want to find and doing some finding we can and finding some insights.